hello once again, Dirtfish friends, and welcome to the Hyundai service area. It is the lunchtime service on day one here of Rally Mexico. We've had 6 stages, and it's been an interesting morning, as always. There have been winners and there have been losers. David, good to see you as always here. You've got your telephone poised. Yep. Just give us a quick rundown, please, of the top 5 or 6 after 6 stages.
So Ogier's leading. He's 9.7 up on Teemu Sunanen. Thierry Neuville is 0.6 of a second off that second place. Esa-Pekka is 16.6 down off the lead. And Elvin, great morning for him, 19.1 down. Calais, 31.4 down in 6th place. But sorry to jump straight in there, Colby. You mentioned, winners and losers, and you've got to say, this morning we are, unfortunately right now, we're in the house of the loser, aren't we, really? Because this morning, Hyundai has paid the price for a really, really tricky Rally Mexico Friday morning.
Yeah, do you know what? We mentioned it before the event started. It's not been a great hunting ground for Hyundai in the past. They've never won here, and they had a really good chance this weekend. They still might win. Let's not write off their chances, but really we were all watching Tanak and Sordo in particular, because they had, David, the advantage of the road position. There's someone listening to us. There's someone listening to what we're saying across there, and he doesn't look too happy. Anyway, that's
it's a little bit intimidating, isn't it?
I'm slightly disconcerted and intimidated.
Should we try and put our arm around him and bring him in? Perhaps not.
No, I don't think so.
Just to very quickly go through exactly what's been happening in this team today. We obviously had Oik Tanak, second stage. He ran wide, he hit, damaged the right rear of the car, broke the wishbone, broke some parts, struggled. Did what he could to fix it, but he lost time. But the biggest loser is Sordo. We talked about this before. Danny Sordo was the guy that we really thought best place on the road. He had got such an opportunity here. And after the second split in that long El Chocolate stage, we don't know exactly what he'd have got, some sort of warning sensor, temperature or water pressure.
Something came loose.
Something came loose on the radiator. He's had to get out and fix it. He's dropped 5 minutes, Danny, it seems to happen to him, doesn't it?
It happens to him here. It happened to him here last year. Listen, you just saw Andrea Adamo not looking particularly happy. Earlier on in the regroup area, we caught up with him. Let's hear what he had to say. Andrea, it's the Friday service here at Rally Mexico. We all expected, particularly Oit and Danny, to go well this morning. Both drivers had problems. Can you tell us what the problems were?
As soon as I will know, I will let you know. So far, we don't know. We know more or less what you know. Then we have also this barrier here, and I think the priority is to let the journalists speak with them, and we'll see.
How disappointed are you? Very disappointed.
For sure.
But it's a long rally, it's a hard rally, it's a rally where things can rapidly change. Still a long way to go.
Normally I manage what I know, what I don't know about the future. For sure, the current, we have done a mistake somehow with Danny, and I'm totally pissed off. I don't know what has happened with Oit.
Andrea, I really do hope the afternoon is better for you.
Hardly can be worse.
You have interesting views as always from Andrea.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't actually see your interview, but I asked him for a resume of the morning, and he gave me one word.
What was that?
I'm not.
You can say it.
It was shit. And that about sums it up this morning. But let's move on, Cole, because Ogier, he talked about before this event, he talked about the need to really push. He's done that. The lead isn't huge, but he's in the front. And it's so important this afternoon, to get somewhere really good on the road for Saturday. It's a big day tomorrow. And this, we talked to Tanak earlier, and he said this is the biggest problem, that he's now struggling with his place on the road. He's going to struggle this afternoon to make that time back, and he could end up in a really tricky position again tomorrow. And that really is your rally finished here.
Well, you mentioned Sebastien Ogier. Again, in the regroup area, I caught up with Sebastien. Sebastien, it's been a strong morning out there for you, leading after Friday's first loop.
Yeah, it's always good to be on the lead, obviously, so happy with that. Challenging, like always here. It's never an easy way, but being where we are, it's really good. We expected obviously Oit and Danny to be fast, and they are, but they had already some issue, both of them. So that's give us an opportunity for us to be on the lead at the moment.
Just very quickly, Seb, you mentioned there you're having problems with shifting. Just explain that a little more for us, please.
Well, basically the shift is shift itself is a bit too long to my taste, and I struggle with that. And I'm forced to use a little bit more with the torque of the car, which anyway, strength of the car, so it should work, but it's just not my usual driving style, so I just have to adapt a little bit.
Good job this morning. Best of luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
David, that's really interesting what he's saying there about the shift and the length of the shift. Clearly it's taking him a little while to get that car set up as he likes, but very Ogier-esque. He keeps banging in the points, he keeps banging in the stage times. It must be worrying for the others to think that he is not struggling, but he's not entirely comfortable with that car yet.
He's not, but everything. When he's talking about a shift time, Col, it's it's milliseconds. It's not like a long shift, but it's enough to just unnerve him a little bit. So he's having to use the torque, as he said there. The engine has plenty of torque. It's not a problem, but it's about every time you're coming out of a corner, he's having to almost second guess, not second guess, but just think about something that previously would come natural. It's up the box, and he's thinking about is it the time, and then it's not natural. And maybe there's no mechanical issue at all. It's just the nature of the transmission. But if a driver's having to think another second about something, it's not normal for them, is it?
It's not, and it is quite remarkable that he leads. It's quite remarkable that he is still right there in terms of his challenge for particularly this rally, but the championship as well. Let's talk very quickly about Elfyn Evans. Elfyn Evans at the start of the day, his big concern was a disastrous day that gave him, the same to do tomorrow. It's quite conceivable that Evans could have finished today as the slowest of the world rally cars and first on the road again tomorrow. I think Evans has had a remarkably strong morning, and he will be fairly optimistic about his chances now of potentially competing for a podium here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's fair to say that he's benefited probably from the problems that Sordo's had, the problems that Tanak's had. They would have been ahead of him. I think that's fair to say. Is that?
No, is it fair to say? And no, it's more than fair to say. I think we all expected the battle at the front to be Ogier, we knew would be there third on the road, but I was expecting it to be Ogier, Sordo and Tanak fighting out at the front. So no, I think that's more than fair to say.
But he has driven tremendously. He lost that time in the first one in El Chocolate, where you kind of expect that you're going to lose the time because the nature of that stage is more twisty. There's the more corners, the more junctions you have, the more time you're going to lose first on the road, because the more time you're looking for braking, traction, for grip under braking, for traction coming out the corners. Once you're into Ortega or Otates, whichever, I can't remember it.
Ortega
Tartes.
Not Otates.
That's the other one.
And Las Minas, they're more flowing stages, so he's going to carry much more speed. So once you've got to speed up, you're not losing as much, are you?
That's absolutely right. First on the road on loose, it's the twisty stuff where you're always looking to gain that traction. It's where you lose the time. We can't really finish the summary without talking about the M Sport cars, because they've had a strong morning out there, and particularly obviously Teemu Sunninen's had a good morning, really good morning. I think he's still in second place, isn't he? Yeah. Just check your phone. David's allowed to check his phone when we're checking time.
9.7 seconds behind Ogier, but equally,
that's absolutely in the game.
Lappy 16.6, and let's not
talk about Lappy, because Lappy has had issues out there this morning. Listen, they had a differential change in the shakedown yesterday, and Lappy basically has said the car has not felt the same since. So Lappy hasn't been comfortable out there, but he's right in it, mixing it.
He is right in it, and both of the boys are making some setup changes here in service for the afternoon stages. So there's more speed to come from them. We should say Gus is 46.9 seconds down. Not a bad morning for Gus. He's taking experience here. We saw there was some damage coming in out of stage 5, but a great morning for M Sport. They are absolutely in the thick of this fight.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to talk about all the drivers, so we'll very quickly wrap this one up by saying Kalle Rovanperä had a puncture in the opening stage and was very, very cautious through the remaining stages of the day. We haven't really touched on Thierry Neuville, the man whose car you can see through there, Adrian, cameraman. Neuville's had a good morning out there, little bit frustrated at the end of the last proper stage. Thought he'd had a great run through, had a look at the time, and I think he was more or less matching times with Evans. So David, I think more of the same this afternoon. I think we'll see a bit of a fight back from Tanak. He's still right in the fight there. I think the Fords could well go out stronger this afternoon, but I think Evans this afternoon might go from strength to strength, and he might assert his authority on that fight for the podium place.
I think you're right. As you said, you've done the cleaning now, so let's get on and see what this afternoon brings. Equally, we should always say that with a Mexican afternoon, that the road might be cleaner, but what does that mean? It also brings out these huge rocks. So there's more chance of punctures and what have you this afternoon. Before we go, we should talk about WRC 3. Pontus Tiedemann.
Very quickly, yeah.
Pontus Tiedemann leading, and a difficult morning in some quarters. Oliver had a mechanical issue on the first stages.
Christian Vibes had problems. Grijzan's had problems. Who else? The Polish driver,
Yes,
European champion.
Kaito.
Yes.
Yeah, no problems there. Electrical problems, I think, for him. But it's a typical Mexican morning, isn't it? The guy that we will come back to you with some news of is Ken Block. Had a misfire last night going into the Guanajuato street stage. Really unfortunate because so many fans there to see him. And we watched him go off the line and there was nothing in the car. You know, he was short shifting. And so we need to catch up with him. We'll do that. And are we done?
Yeah, we are done, David. We are done. Well done, mate. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been an interesting morning, David. It's going to be an interesting afternoon. As always, Rally Mexico giving us plenty to talk about. Don't forget, really, you don't have to go anywhere. Stick with dirtfish.com. David is doing the writing and the talking. All I do is the talking. Adrian does the filming. We'll see you guys later on. Thanks for joining us.